Now, I've had a unique perspective in the sense that I've been born into a family that practices small business. As in being born in this family, I've had a job since I was about 9 years old, and with this I've seen many different types of people come and go into the work environment. One of the things that I've gotten very used to is welfare systems and different things that people do to take advantage and to help supply themselves when they are in need, or to take advantage of systems that are already in place. Welfare systems are simply the idea or design of governments giving money or support and providing certain benefits to those who don't have the ability and don't qualify for them to be able to do it themselves. Certain examples of this are stuff like food stamps for certain families that don't have the ability to, or that don't make a specific income. They get some money given to them by the government to help pay for their grocery bills. We also see this in examples like Medicaid and unemployment benefits and things like that. However, many of these welfare systems can have severe problems. So in this speech, I'd like to look at three main different problems with active welfare systems and how we can change and how we can reform the welfare system in order to help better treat each of these problems. The first problem is a decreased income over time. A decreased income over time. Now, the idea of welfare is to help people get out of poverty. Is it actually doing that? The answer is no. According to many different studies and surveys, we've seen that programs like Medicaid and programs like food stamps, when used over time, will actually cause people to become more reliant on this and decrease the overall GDP of that particular household. That would mean that they would make less money on average and spend less money on average, which would make sense because they don't have because they're getting that extra income and they're having that bill already taken care of. However, over time, this actually leads to more constraint and more reliance on the government and not actually giving them the ability to get out of poverty and get out of the reason why they need welfare. The welfare state that we live in now is actually encouraging these problems and not helping people to actually get out. It's keeping people in poverty and keeping people using welfare. It's not actually causing people to be able to get out of that. The second main problem with the current welfare system is that it discourages productivity. It discourages productivity. The idea of welfare is that if we are to be able to help these people and provide for themselves, then they would be self-sustaining. However, in the current welfare system, most of it is qualification-based, which means that there's hired individual government workers who make sure in an individual case whether or not the person qualifies, which means that one person has to prove basically that they're poor enough to qualify for welfare. I've seen many different people that I personally know try to work less hours so that way they can qualify for unemployment, or make a little bit less money so that way they can just fall in the range of getting into food stamps. However, this is just on an individual basis. Let's look at this more on a national level. If we look specifically at all the money that the federal welfare programs are given out, a year after, 12.6% of all of these federal welfare payments will actually come back to be welfare fraud. It will later be revealed within a year period that those were fraudulent payments. And this makes complete sense because if you have a system where people are, where you're paying people taxpayer money in order to facilitate and oversee this entire thing, then what's happening is it's causing people to be less productive and work not as hard as they could. So what's the real solution to these problems that we've seen? Well, welfare is a very complicated issue and there's not really one main solution. However, there are some things we can take away. For example, we can make a welfare system that actually encourages productivity and will actually increase income over time. Well, how do we do that? We reform the tax system. We provide negative income tax. So our negative income tax is the main advocacy, or the point of advocacy for this speech is to rebuild a welfare system that is more based on negative income tax. So what is negative income tax? Well, negative income tax is the idea that, well, typically if you would work and let's say make $20,000 a year, you would get, let's say, 5% of that taken away for tax. However, a negative income tax system would instead give the positive 5% to those individuals. So individuals that are making less than $40,000 per year would actually receive positive income tax instead of negative income tax, thus still providing these people with the money they need to pay for their goods and services, like Medicaid and like things like food stamps. However, they would do so in a way that increases productivity and increases efficiency overall. Thank you.